truckdriver101.com. Alright guys, this is truckdriver101.com. This is Big Ken, and basically what I'm here to do today is talk about what is a truck driver. You can go to truckdriver101.com and find lists of jobs and all types of stuff on the home website. And lots of articles I do on the blog, basically talking about trucking. You can also find click-throughs to my YouTube channel. Also find out information from other guys who do YouTube channels, such as Trucker Boy E, who's a great guy out there giving advice. You can catch him on YouTube. So, basically what I want to talk about today, what is a truck driver? A truck driver is someone, basically we're really talking about what we really do. And I got a question about this, like what do you really do? And what you really do as a truck driver is that you drive the truck, which is the job that's pretty explanatory in the concept of being a truck driver. Truck is basically a tractor trailer, but it's pretty much a souped up diesel engine. Usually diesel, sometimes not if it's a smaller truck, but most big trucks are hauling diesel. And basically your job is to drive the truck safely. You got to be certified in whatever state you stay in. Plus you have to also pass the physical. Now the physical is attached to your license, and it's supposed to expire when your license expires now, so that'll be pretty interesting. And from now on in the trucking industry, they're putting computers in your truck so they can track you. So everybody will pretty much be forced to switch over to computer logs pretty soon. So you got to run the computer, you got to make sure you stay healthy. Plus, you also have to keep your license straight. You got to know all the rules and regulations. And that can be pretty daunting sometimes, since rules and regulations often change. Other than that, other than you do basic maintenance on the truck, you don't actually have to do it. Normally there's a shop you take it to. But often truckers can, some truckers get out there and get dirty. Usually owner-operators get out there and work on their actual trucks. Usually companies, believe it or not, will let you work on your truck because a lot of times they don't want you screwing it up. So that's really all you do is drive it and make sure the maintenance gets taken care of. And in a way, you have an obligation somewhat to the government, because you have to make sure that all that stuff I talked about earlier, the license and stuff, is straight. But you also have to make sure the truck itself is straight. If your truck is screwed up or jacked up in any way, they will fine you, not the company. One of the biggest misconceptions we have in the trucking industry is that the company pays your fines. They don't. You pay your fines, always. And in many states, in many places, they're unlimited. So you got to be realistic here when you got to be serious as well when you become a truck driver, and understand that you cannot play around. Now, speaking on that, I want to talk about DOT scales. I notice a lot of drivers nowadays seem to apparently think they Superman or something. You cannot walk up to a DOT officer and get smart with them. The key thing of walking out of a DOT facility is to walk out with all your money in your pocket. That is number one, numero uno, when you walk in there. That is the only thing you should care about, walking out with all your money. The company, if something the company messed up on, I've had bill of lading's been wrong, but as long as I'm the right weight, it's not my fault. And any company that does something like that often uses the shipper that gets in trouble. You don't have to worry about that. But any companies that do that kind of stuff, you want to watch them, because sometimes DOT will be spotting who's hauling their freight. And that is, and it's like when you're dealing with all this kind of stuff going on, I seen a guy the other day get real smart with a DOT officer. Of course, he bought himself a deep inspection and a talking to and a bunch of other crap, which I don't understand why you would even go through all that. You know how tight it is, and often the reason the officer was all over him had nothing to really do with him. I think the company he was hauling for hauls out of a place that was around the corner. I think it was the dog food people, Alpo. And I know they will overload you in a second. I had to argue with them one time and told them I couldn't haul one of their loads. And they literally looked at me like, so? We don't care if you're overweight. I'm like, I can't even fuel. I mean, I got to get fuel. He's like, that's not my problem. I was like, oh, okay. I walked back in the truck and drove to a truck stop and told him, I'm not moving until this load is right. Now, of course, when you get to the DOT scale and they got somebody like that with all these attitudes, I guarantee you that they're looking for people like that. Now, I don't know if that was his scenario, but I know when they weighed me up and they saw my trucking company when I went by the first scale, oh, I got called to the back and had to go talk to DOT, and they wanted to see the paperwork. And every time I hauled one of those dog food loads for them, I ended up going through the same silly crap because they overload stuff. These companies often that you haul their stuff, they don't understand that. And they don't care either because 9 times out of 10, you get the ticket. The guy who's loading this doesn't care because all he wants to do is go home. So you're the one who has to kind of deal with this crap. But that's one of the ups and downsides of the industry. You want to be a trucker, you want to have the freedom to go where you want to go, will drive from one point to another and be able to have the freedom in between that time to do what you want in your truck. It's a cost to it. And one of those costs is dealing with DOT and shippers. And all that attitude and yelling and screaming at people, man, that ain't going to get you nothing. That guy walked out of there with a $350 fine. Yeah, he was quiet at that point. I just kept looking and didn't say nothing. Don't laugh. Don't say nothing. Just look and just keep your mouth shut. As Bernie Mac once said, they want you to shut the fuck up. To quote. Well, guys, that's really all I wanted to talk about today and the podcast. The podcast will not be extremely long. It will be whatever I'm talking about, and then that's it. I'll end it right there. So the new way I'm doing the podcast will be that way. So sometimes the podcast will be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or, just a few minutes. Whatever. It might be 30 minutes, who knows. But right now, that's the format. So every month, I'm going to do a new podcast like I was doing before, but I'm going to have a specific topic, and I'm going to talk about that topic only. I will be putting out a slightly audio version, audio book type thing, and it'll be on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to check it out, buy it if you want it. It'll just be about advice on getting to the big money in trucking and how to actually do that, how to actually get to the part where you make the real money in trucking and where it actually is. A lot of people have assumptions where the money is. I'll give you advice on how to actually do that and a game plan how to do it, from truck driving school, choosing the right school, all the way to the point where you actually get into the industry, and then what do you need to do to get to the point where you're making, $50, $60, $70,000 a year. So that's what I'll talk about next, and I'll talk about it a little bit on here, and then it'll be for sale on YouTube. So that's it, guys. That's Truck Driver 101, and you can go to the website. Like I said, we got jobs listed there. You want to find out anything about the industry, Truck Driver 101 is a great place to go. All right, have a good one.